Everywhere I look, I see all these images of unmarked, perfect, taut abdomens. And I look with its twisty and, with its flaps and everything. But then I think, wait a minute. What it looks like is that something happened here. Something's gone on. It's dynamic. It's creation. All these flaps and scars and changes, everything means something. It means that there's been life. It's not static.
The expectations that men have of a flat tummy and that cute 15 to 20-year-old body is expected to continue even after you've given birth, even after your tummy has expanded so much to give new life. My body changed dramatically during pregnancy, but the first few months is a very cute time in pregnancy. You just see a little bump, and every time it grows a little bit more, you get a little bit more excited and a little bit more excited until probably the 7th month. But then my opposite reaction started coming out. Instead of wanting to let my belly grow, I was hoping that it would just stay at the 7-month stage. The belly didn't have any more room to grow, so it made more room. It stretched out from inside out. You can tell how they grew, really, just from taking a look at it. I think these are the biggest, longest one or broadest ones probably. Because the belly went like this. Yes.
I did belly dance for a little bit. It's fun and beautiful. And it's not really about the Sultan, it's really more about other women and related to birthing, labor and delivery, and celebrating the female form. I am a school librarian and I have 3 children. When I had Lucy, I was young, and I think having her and seeing her being born really changed how I felt about my body. It's really amazing to feel like once there's no baby, and now there's this baby right there. That's like a miracle. And I don't use that term lightly. I really believe that. And, so I just thought, wow, I'm really powerful. And, it felt very ordinary and very sacred at the same time. I was an early bloomer, so I got a lot of unwanted attention from my body, and I was shy and uncomfortable. So then to be a nursing mom, I felt like, oh, well, that's what these are for, to nurse. But what I notice now is stretch marks. I have a few. I make jokes about them as my tattoos. I don't have any tattoos. I'm like, I've got nature's tattoos here. And I like how I look. Having a husband that finds me really attractive helps. Because I will sometimes think, oh, are you looking at my fat stomach or my, and no, he's looking at all kinds of other things. Or, it's like, if I had a husband that said, you really could get a tummy tuck, which I know there are husbands who would say those things to their wives who have birthed their children, I would probably get a divorce.
I've always loved tattoos. My tattoos are all about women in my life, I think. So I decided after Phoebe was born, since I had a tattoo about my mom, I wanted to get one about being a mother. And I placed it over here because I'm convinced that this was the ovary that produced the egg that Phoebe was conceived from. This is supposed to be my daughter when she was about 2. And this is a gay pride ribbon. It's the rainbow. So it's about being a mother. I always thought it was ironic that in Jewish tradition, at least traditionally, you're not supposed to have tattoos because you're supposed to return to the earth as you were born. But then half of Long Island would be not buried in Jewish cemeteries. I'm sorry. That's just me being a little catty about plastic surgery. It was always I was going to have a child. And then when I met my now wife, Mary, we both said we wanted one. It was just a matter of how and when. We artificially inseminate or alternatively inseminated. Phoebe's starting to become prepubescent, pubescent, and it makes me think a lot about my own puberty and how awful I was feeling about my body changing into a woman's body. So pregnancy was like a relief from all of that. And it was the first time that it wasn't about a weakness or feeling shameful. And it was so freeing. And to decorate my body is about loving my body because I spent so many years hating my body. In my way of thinking, our bodies are about how we live our life on earth. And we have scars and we have all of the changes that our bodies go through. And that's culmination of our lives lived.
So here it is. Here's my stomach. 3 babies and a hysterectomy. You know, I had a growth on one ovary. And at 23 years old, with something on your ovary, it has nothing to do with the uterus. There was no reason for my uterus to be removed. There was so much racism going on back then in the 70s. I think it was more like sterilization, to be honest with you. You know, I think it was like more like, you know, neutering a dog. I've always been so worried about how I look to others. The size of my belly has always been about how big you think I am or how ugly you think my stomach is, and it was never about what I thought about my stomach. So I've finally gotten comfortable. It's just what I am. This is it.
I do many things in life, but I am an actor. And being that, you know, my body is used as a tool in my profession, I've had moments of feeling very uncomfortable with my excess skin. But because I've had children, I'm very sympathetic to women's shape, women's morphing, gravity, the issues that women have, you know. And I think in Hollywood, it's just become so sanitized and homogenized. They want to sort of erase any type of character. But with that said, I never gave what would happen to my body a thought. I never cared. I couldn't wait to get pregnant. I wanted to give birth. I wanted to breastfeed. I wanted to have a very natural delivery. Again, even after birth, I didn't care. I gained 75 pounds with my first child and 80 pounds with my second. And I ate, and it was glorious, and my husband loved every inch of my fat ass and my big tummy and my big boobs and my thick ankles and my puffy feet. And then when, you know, the babies came out, I ended up with a lot of loose skin, which, you know, I don't really notice when I'm standing up. It's not a real issue. My husband doesn't care. But when I'm, you know, on top and, you know, or if I'm leaning over and getting dressed and my husband sees it, I just feel uncomfortable because it looks like some kind of weird mushroom or a piece of like old fruit that's gone bad or something, and it sort of depresses me. And I'm just contemplating, you know, do I live with it or not? I had my kids, I have my scars. Do I need to prove anything? Do I want to fix it? Do I care? My husband doesn't. But it has been the one thing that I didn't factor in. Loose skin. I never thought about it. And, it bothers me. It does bother me, but that's just part of the process. It's part of that I have 2 human beings because of it. So, hey.
I was born in Puerto Rico, and I grew up in the United States. So as a teen, I went back and forth between feeling like I was beautiful because I was big, but then not feeling that because the reality is that in this country and in this culture, big is not beautiful. Becoming pregnant and going through that, it's very romanticized in my mind because it was just such a beautiful experience to feel something growing inside of you, and I was being stretched. The whole body change thing set in when I realized my feet looked huge, my arms looked huge, my face was really pudgy, and I never thought I would be this big. Almost a year and a half later, I haven't lost the weight to look how I used to look. So I feel like it's really hard. But at the same time, I don't want to go back to who I was. Yeah, it's not how I used to be. That's okay. I'm more okay now than I was before.
Before I was pregnant, I used to be so proud of myself that I had a 22-inch waist. I gained 85 pounds with the twins. I went full term, and because of the way the babies were presenting, that my cut goes like this. It was one of probably the most traumatic things. Every time I think about it, I think about, it was such a pretty belly before. Now, I mean, I spent a lot of time avoiding looking at myself. I wouldn't put the nightgown on. I mean, like, I didn't want my husband to look at me. I didn't want anybody to look at me. As an artist, I decided to paint myself naked. And I really liked doing it. And that was when the big road painting came about. I mean, it brings tears to my eyes actually thinking about how many women came up to me and would tell me, "You're so brave." And I would see women looking at my painting and thinking, "Oh, that's what I look like." I mean, I had so many comments like that. I had this crazy comment. Some guy comes up to my painting and he looks at it and the look of horror on his face was so evident. He looks at my painting and he goes, "Women don't really look like that, do they?" When I made this painting, one of the things I discovered is to feel like I'm valuable. Okay, this is my package. Maybe I want to change it. Maybe I don't want to change it. Maybe it's fine. So, I just started to think, well, okay, it's not pretty, but it is what it is. And I have 2 gorgeous children. So I guess every one of these little lines is for my kids,
Definitely, they're my battle scars. I've shown these C-section scars to my kids, and they love seeing where they came out. Having 4 C-sections creates all this scar tissue, and I can't feel anything here. And then I have the usual mommy skin stuff. Sometimes I miss being pregnant, and it feels so good to let my stomach out, let my muscles go, to feel and look as though I'm 4 or 5 months pregnant. I have 3 girls and a boy, and I make sure to tell them that I earned this when they were in my tummy.
I loved kids. I always knew I was going to marry a young mom, always. I was pregnant before I even graduated high school. The whole adult thing without kids never happened. I have a 5-year-old and her. We have the stretch marks that are climbing up my body, and you would not believe I Did everything everyone told me to, the lotions, the oil, blah, blah, blah. Nothing works. Nothing works. Just meant to happen, I guess. It's a wonderful curse, isn't it? But you know, why would I change it? That's my mommy. That's my mommy, that badge. It tells me that I've had children and my life will never be the same again. It's my change from being a kid to being a woman. It's my change.
I feel like this is sort of my badge of courage, my badge of motherhood. I got to have these stretch marks. Men love to talk about their war scars and, bullet holes. And I got these beautiful stretch marks. Of course, the scar that I got from the cesarean section, that's where my children came from. It's beautiful. I've always been on this road to being a midwife since I probably was a small child, always remembering my aunts from Korea having their babies. And so as a midwife, I have had the fortunate experience of having a lot of contact with women and talking to them about how their bodies are changing in pregnancy and the feeling of the loss of control of their body. A lot of women do have the disappointment that their body didn't snap right back like a rubber band. You got the stretch marks, and it's not necessarily going down like they thought it would. They can't pull on their jeans again and button them up, and maybe their hips are a little wider. And I try to tell all women that this is your new body because you're a new person. You're a mom, and you need the right body to go along with the job.
After I had my babies, what I felt really uncomfortable about was the loose sack that just hung over and this crepey skin. I started to feel really uncomfortable being intimate with my husband. I thought he doesn't want to look at this. And I had a lot of shame anyway because I had been molested most of my life. So the idea of exposing myself even to my husband in a way that felt uncomfortable and shameful was really got in the way for a long time. My second son died 4 years ago. And as it relates to my belly, I've changed how I think about it because I look at the shape of this belly and I see it as an empty nest. Because it looks a lot like a nest, actually. When I see it, it's round like a nest, and it's my little secret empty nest, and it's my holding spot. So I now am embracing it in a different way. This is really all I have left, and it's mine. It's mine, and I don't want it taken away.